This is Andrew Paul Cronin, and you're listening to the Q&A with A.P.C, the show that features conversations with artists, cultural figures, policymakers, performers, and other innovators living in Virginia. Episode 21, Sam Clayman. My guest, artist Sam Clayman, is best known for his illustrations and paintings of everyday people living their lives and speaking their minds. Many of the people in his work are often wearing little to no clothing. Those who are wearing clothes often have band-aids in strange places, rollers in their hair, cigarettes in their mouths, and extreme self-confidence coming from all over. In addition to his original work, Sam also recreates iconic images of musicians, actors, and other celebrities in his signature painting style. In this episode of the Q&A with A.P.C, Sam discusses how people interpret his art, what inspires him to paint, and how he decides which ideas to follow through with. He shares insights into his early life, his many tattoos, and comments on claims made by some that his art is sexist or disrespectful to women. For more information on Sam and his work, go to samclaymanpaint.com, and on Saturday, June 17th, see Sam and his art at the Tar Roof in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where he unveils his show, The Naked Luau. The show will incorporate 75 to 100 life-size wooden cutouts of Sam's beach characters. The show will be outdoors with food, music, and more. Visit thetarroof.com for more information. Sam, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you remember the first piece of art that you saw that meant something to you?
Oh, man. I think the first art that I actually ever really identified with and drew a lot from was probably Shel Silverstein. His poetry, his line drawings they meant a lot to me when I was a kid. Those are my favorite books. Growing up with the name Sam, everybody's always, Dr. Seuss, Sam I Am, Green Eggs and Ham. While I always loved those stories and those illustrations, the Shel Silverstein stuff to me was like, he was like a god, even at a young age. And, the poetry, I remember always trying to recreate his drawings. His drawings are so sophisticated for being so simple, in my opinion. As a kid, I remember, I can tell you, I was probably 6 years old, and my grandmother was in the hospital with pneumonia, and I ended up drawing. My dad was like, do you want to sign a card? Do you want to send a card? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I went to my room, and I remember drawing out, and I even still remember the poem. It's Something's Missing, again, by Shel Silverstein. I remember I put on my socks. I remember I put on my shoes. I remember I put on my tie that was painted in beautiful purples and blues. I remember I put on my coat to look perfectly grand at the dance, but I feel there is something missing. What is it? And obviously it was the man's pants. And I thought not only was it silly and funny, but if anyone's familiar with the poem, the illustration that coincides with it is just brilliant. I love it.
So it was not only just the drawing, but it was the words,
the text. It's always something about text, dialogue, whether it was comics. And I wasn't a huge comic geek by any means, but I did love the Sunday funnies.
Yeah.
Which we called them in my house. But yeah, it was always, the illustrations, and to be honest with you, I say simple, but like the block coloring, just something that is very easy on a kid's eyes. Mm-hmm. That's what I was always drawn to.
You attended and graduated from Old Dominion University with a degree in communications. I had the same degree from the same institution. How was college?
College was cool. I was at Radford for 2 years prior to. Had a girlfriend that basically had me coming home every 3 weeks. So it just got to the point. I did 2 years at Radford, enjoyed my time there, partied way too much, had a lot of fun. Academically, I was great. I always went to class. So in that regard, Radford was great, but I needed to come home. I just wanted to come home, be closer to her. So that's what I did.
Why didn't you major in art?
It's one of those things that, looking back, I should have. Um,
Was that an option? Did they have that as a major at Old Dominion?
yeah, they definitely did. I declared my major at Radford. It's one of those things where I got all my general ed kind of knocked out really, really quick, and I declared major. My sophomore year, and I just started knocking through these communication classes fairly quickly. I mean, I was taking like 18-hour semesters and stuff, so it's kind of like I was already in it. On my way to your house, that my girlfriend asked me that question. She said, if you could go back, what do you think you would have wanted to go to school for? And I said, I would have gone to VCU, and I would have gotten a graphic design degree, and I would have gone into like advertising or something cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I should have done. It's never too late, I guess, right?
You lived in Hawaii for a little while after college. What brought you to Hawaii, and what changed for you there?
A girl brought me to Hawaii. So I graduated from Old Dominion. The girl that I was seeing at the time was kind of from there. Her mom had been out there for 20 years, so she was kind of going out there every summer to live out there. And I graduated. She had a couple more years left in school, but she was like, I'm not staying in this area. I'm gonna go be with my mom and finish school out there. I said, you know what? I'll come. And she was hip to it, so I was like, caught a plane at the end of the summer, and was living in Hawaii, and it was a lot of fun. It was hard, but it's a magical place. I met a lot of people, and I had a lot of fun. And to be honest with you, that time that I spent out there was kind of the catalyst to when I started. I hate saying taking my art like more serious, but I started definitely focusing on it a lot more.
And what about, was it something about Hawaii or something
Yeah,
about your frame of mind or something about like time away from school?
all
or?
of it. So it was the first time in my young adult life that I was exposed to like a real art culture. Whether or not there was an art scene at home, I didn't know about it. My friends weren't into it, so I was never really exposed to it. It was always, back home, it was just surfing, sports, beach life, partying with friends. And
Repeat, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So going to a place like Hawaii, which is essentially it's its own country, it was eye opening and it was awesome. I struggled for a little while. I remember it took me forever to find a job. It is very true what some people say. I feel like everyone should live as a minority once in their life. It is a humbling experience to walk into a room and have all eyes on you. So I appreciate that I lived that. But yeah, they do these things called First Fridays. I met people, and you go either to Chinatown or you go to North Shore Haleiwa, and they do art walks. First Friday, Aloha Fridays, and I loved it. And it's like a big community of people just celebrating art culture, music, and I fell in love. And as soon as that happened, I was like all in. I was like, you know what, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of something that feels good, and yeah, and that's kind of what happened.
And you were always painting.
Yeah, so I was. It's funny. It's like my style of art and what I was producing was crap, but that's kind of like it built. I kept trying to figure out, I worked with a bunch of different mediums and I was doing a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, like I finally was like, why don't I just do what I love to do? And that's literally draw and paint the human figure in a kind of like a cartoony comic way. And that's what I did. It took me a few years to realize that, Sam, like, stop trying so hard, I think I was trying to borrow styles from things that I really, really liked and artists that I really, respected. a light bulb went off actually when I was in Hawaii, and I was like, I don't know why I'm trying to do something that I can't do. So I think that's important for an artist or for people that appreciate art.
Yeah.
It's easy to tell, you know what I mean? Style is everything.
Yeah.
And having a unique style and just a style of your own is very, very important. Because if you're trying to push too hard, it shows. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So what was the first thing that you created where you stepped back and said, "Wow, this is it."
You know, I was doing, like I said, I was doing a lot of paintings of portraits of people that, like, you know, celebrities and kind of pop icons that didn't necessarily mean anything to me, and that I had no real personal connection with, and the art was just bad, and it was sloppy, and I just didn't like it, and it showed because it was bad art. But when I came home, there's a girl named Kim Sawyer who was starting, basically promoting art shows in Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. And she was always very kind to include me in those. After doing a few, I was invited to do, I think it was like the first and second Hampton Roads tattoo convention. And it was at that point where I was kind of like decided to just do the doodles and the sketches that I've always done. You know, I've always been drawing since I was a little kid, and that's what I did. I remember I made a ton of sketches of just people doing silly stuff, saying silly things, and there was a real connection that people had with it. Yeah, and immediately, like, the tattoo community kind of embraced it. Like a lot of guys in the area were like, "Wow!" Like, first of all, we didn't know that you were an artist. I've been getting tattooed for a while, so. I never really, you know, unless they were a friend of mine, they didn't know that I did art. So I remember that was a great experience because it kind of opened some doors for me. But it also showed me that, you know what, this is what people like. This is, you know, I've kind of made a connection with people here. So I just kind of kept pursuing those drawings of funny characters.
So you were tabling, or you had some display at the convention?
Yeah, I did. I think the first and the second, actually, I think it was the first two Hampton Roads tattoo conventions, and then Virginia Beach had one maybe after that second year, and I did that one.
Well, it's interesting that was sort of your first, well, I don't know if it was your first, but because that was a unique experience for you to literally see a physical reaction to your painting. Whereas if you were in a gallery and it's up for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or a week, even there's opening night and people walk around with one, but there you can see like, hey, like this thing, like there is an immediate connection,
right?
And people come up to you and say like, hey, or you just people walking by and do a double take.
You're right. It's a different avenue. It's much different than showing in a gallery or anything like that, because there's direct interaction. I was literally at a table and I had all my stuff, you know, all my work out around me. Yeah. So it was beautiful because also it was such an eclectic group of people that were there for the tattoo convention. So 90% of them were walking by and taking notice and seeing these silly characters that are drawing and definitely giving me some feedback.
So let's talk about some of these silly characters. There's a lot of sunburns in your work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in your art who are not, let's say, in the best physical shape,
right,
but they're often half nude or dressed in a sexy skirt or shorts.
Right.
Is there something about a person having too much confidence that interests you?
Absolutely. I love it. I think sometimes it's outrageous and hilarious. But at the end of the day, like I don't think, first of all, anyone that has confidence, there's definitely people out there that have too much and that maybe should dial it back, whether it's, you know, in regards to what they're wearing on the beach or just what they're wearing in general. But I love it. Like, it's something that when I see somebody, whether you're sitting at a bar and you see somebody walking in and, you know, it's a construction worker in for lunch and he's hitting on the most beautiful woman there. Like I love that. I love that. I don't know what it is about it. I don't love it in terms of, you know, I think the man's being disrespectful. I love it in terms that, you know what, this guy doesn't care. He's going for it, and that's kind of what resonates with me. Just go for it.
I find them very detailed, but yet also simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that? okay to say?
Yes, yeah, 100%. I am not a gifted artist. I draw okay.
There's things about them that are very detailed. Like, you're
Right.
particularly good at drawing hair.
Yeah.
I feel like you must do a lot of people watching.
I do. I do. Don't we all?
Yes.
I don't consider myself a starer. I don't like being stared at.
Do you think other people would consider you a starer?
Maybe.
Do you sketch it out or do you store it in your brain box?
Both. So I've done both. I've gone down to the north end and I've sat on that last park bench many times, and I'll just sit there, and because all the tourists that come by, they'll ride that 4-passenger bicycle. They'll get to the end, and then they'll stop, and all of them will get out and kind of like mosey around, and I'll sit there, and you can tell, you can kind of tell from like a block away. I'm like, okay, I know these people are gonna stop here. I know they're gonna get out of their 4-passenger bike.
Well, and the turning radius on those.
It's horrible. So they generally get out, and the two guys up front are always, trying to turn the bike around while their wives or girlfriends are out standing on the edge of the boardwalk looking at the water. And I should have brought my sketchbook because I've got a lot of those. And I just try to sketch really, really fast. And from that, I will go home and make another sketch much more detailed and refined.
But are there some things that you draw that you've never seen either on a TV screen or a movie screen? It's just, like you're drinking coffee and it's like, this would be funny.
Yeah. So I always just start with a face, and then the body just develops around it, and then hopefully some sort of mild scene kind of develops after that.
Has growing up in a beach town afforded you more opportunities than the average American to see people who aren't fully dressed?
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Because growing up here, you see people on vacation more than the average person.
Yeah.
From all over Canada.
I'm
and
sure
all
that's, yeah.
like that. Do you think if you grew up in Vermont that you would paint forests and granite?
No. I think I would probably paint nude people skiing, which I've also done.
You still do?
Yeah.
How do you decide which ideas to go through with?
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I just think aesthetically, if it's gonna look good, if I think it's gonna look good, I go with it. I mean, I've got my cell phone just filled with the notes section of art ideas, and it pops into my head when I'm driving. It pops in my head when I'm watching TV. It pops in my head when I'm listening to music. I just get these ideas, whether someone tells me a colorful joke or, it can stem from anything, but what makes me actually generally put it, I always sketch first. I always think of something, sketch it out, usually draw it again, and then if I like it enough, I'll put it to canvas. And then obviously, aside from that, I do a lot of commissions and stuff, which, I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of drawing back from that. Not a big fan of doing a lot of pet portraits anymore and stuff like that. If I don't want to do it, I'm not, I don't look at myself as a professional artist, but if I don't think that my style of art will fit it well, then I probably won't do it.
Right. But they must feel like they want whatever it is, their family portrait in your style.
Family portraits, I'm 100% cool with. It's the dog portraits, it's the cat portraits. I'm not good at the animals. So
you could draw like super long nipple cats.
Yeah, long teats.
Yeah.
I could do. That's a good idea.
So do you ever start something on canvas and then never finish it?
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
I mean, I don't know a percentage, but it definitely happens. Probably more than I'd like it to. I'll start something, and I'll end up ripping the canvas off and restretching it on the frame and just starting over.
Do you ever stop and step away and come back to something a day, a week, a month later?
Yeah,
finish it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got stuff in the room where I keep all my canvases that I started 6 months ago that I just haven't gone back to because I haven't felt really. And so I kind of walked away from it for a little bit because I didn't feel like it was going in the direction that I wanted it to go, or I just all of a sudden didn't like it anymore. I mean, I've got a lot of that where, I'll start something and nearly finish it, and then I'm like, First of all, I'm not gonna post a picture of it. Second of all, I don't want to finish it. Third of all, I'm never showing it to anybody. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about some of your inspirations. I read in an interview that you did a few years ago some of these things, and I'm going to run through some of them. And you just tell me some
Yeah.
add-on some stuff. So one of the things, inspirations that you had were memories of your youth. What is a memory from your youth that has found its way into one of your pieces?
So I mean, just being on the beach with my mom and my brother, and looking at tourists. I mean, I used to do a lot of paintings of just crowded beach scenes. I mean, I did one called Canadian Geese, where it's just a lot of people sitting on the beach that look like they belong there, but didn't look like they belong there. You know what I mean? Like, could not be more comfortable, but looked so out of place.
Late 80s, early 90s pop culture.
John Candy movies were it for me. I love John Candy movies. I love Chevy Chase movies. So yeah, I mean, just pulling characters from certain movies or music at a time where I was in front of the television a lot more. I think everything's watered down now just because of how easy access is to everything.
The mystery is...
We know too much about everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it takes a lot away.
Ben Horton and Shel Silverstein. We talked about Shel Silverstein, but you mentioned Ben Horton, who
Yeah.
I looked up online and combed through a few pages.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Ben Horton and what did he mean to you? Or
Ben
what does he
Horton,
mean?
he started a label called Slave Skateboards. He's a skateboarder, but his art is something that he doesn't really. I mean, a lot of people in that community, obviously are familiar with his work. It's just unbelievable art. He uses very little text, but there's generally always something with a lot of his paintings. It's just really beautiful work. I mean, he does a lot of stuff with humans, like he does a lot of profiles of people. Some you can tell are depictions of real people, and then some you can tell he's completely making up. But a lot of scenarios, I feel like the same way. I'm drawing from something. I'm drawing from something that I've seen before, and I like to think that he does the same.
Sam, one of your favorite bands, if not your actual favorite band, is the American punk rock band Against Me.
Yes.
The band's lead singer publicly came out as a transgender woman in 2012. What has that been like for you to follow her journey?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I'd be lying if I said that, like, I remember the day I found out, and I remember when I picked that Rolling Stone up. It took my breath away a little bit, but not because of the substance of it, just because, you follow a band for so long, and the music, it becomes more than just the music. That band, for me, was the end-all, be-all. I don't know if you or anyone had the privilege of ever going to a live show between, say, 2001 to, like, 2010. And again, the band is very, very active. I was just in Charlottesville a few months back and had the pleasure of seeing them. And the live show is still something else. And everybody that ever gets the opportunity to see them needs to go see them. But it's definitely changed, as it should. It's a beautiful thing, It was something weird, as I was saying, because it came as such a shock. You don't know how to react to something like that, and again, you're so close to this music, and you're so close to following a group of people that you immediately hold them close, almost like they're very close friends, and you believe that you know them. Their music was everything.
When do you create? Like what time?
Always, man, always. I'm always thinking about stuff. I'm always thinking about, and it's subconsciously. I always keep it in the back of my mind. Would that make a cool drawing, or would that make a cool painting? At all times am I thinking about it. And if it pops into my head, I write it down in my iPhone and I reference it later.
But do you work at night only, or
so when do I physically
when
create
do you sit
that?
Down to...
Generally at night. Weekends I'm a big, like, wake up early on Saturday morning, coffee, music, and start drawing. Yeah, that's kind of what I like to do.
Describe your workspace.
Probably like a 7-foot by 12-foot room. And it's got a desk. actually just took a lot of stuff down, but it was wall to ceiling art, not my art, but art that just I love, because I am slowly trying to collect more and more. So I have a lot of that up, but I'm getting ready to redo the room, so I took a lot of that down. But it's just polluted with Sharpies and microns and acrylic paint and paintbrushes.
So describe your materials, because I know that you say illustration and painting, but it seems like some of it has to be computer.
Yeah. So a lot of my drawings, all of my drawings are literally pencil, ink, paper. That's it. And then what I'll tend to do is, if I want to take it further, I will then generally scan it in. I don't have the electronics yet. I don't have the iPad Pros or anything like that. So I was actually taking pictures of it and then emailing those pictures to myself, literally up until probably a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I did invest in a scanner, but it's a really shitty scanner. Resolution's awful. So I'll scan it in, pull it up on Photoshop, and I'm not a whiz at Photoshop by any means. So if you really look at my stuff, you see a lot of imperfections, but I do that because I want to see kind of what it's gonna look like as an end result, because I'm very, very good with drawing the eye. I can say that. So like if I sketch something small scale, I'm pretty good at following lines and making them big. You know what I mean? So when I color everything in, when I essentially paint it on Photoshop, it'll give me a good idea of what it's gonna look like. It generally, to be honest with you, it looks a lot better when I put it to canvas, because it's just layers and layers of acrylic paint.
So it's a small computer image that you have scanned from one of your drawings, and then you look at that and you don't grid it out. You eyeball it and
Yeah. So I'll draw it on with pencil, and it takes me, it can take me anywhere from a day to a week to kind of get it to how I want it to look on canvas with pencil. And then I'll go over the pencil with generally either a paint pen or just a Sharpie, just a marker. And then from that, all my initial lines set, and then I start paint. And then all the details and the final lines come at the end with paint, all acrylic.
And is that your own process, or is that a process that...
I didn't learn that from anybody. So, yeah, I don't want to say it's my own process. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are kind of doing the similar things, but it was never something that was shown to me. My art education is very, very, very basic. I took art in high school. Hilarious lady from my high school that taught art that had just a few too many acid trips, I think. And but she was a blast. I mean, she was fun. She didn't teach me anything. I just doodled the whole time. In high school, they try to teach you, art theory and history and stuff like that. And then in between that, you're just kind of doing your thing. Right. At least that's what my class was.
I love your backgrounds because the colors are so vibrant and they add so much to the overall work. And I feel like that could be something that is not really overlooked by other artists, but like I feel like the backgrounds, a lot of your pieces work because of the background, so they certainly enhance it. And I guess, do the background colors, in terms of the color scheme that you decide, is that something that you decide as it's happening, or before you once that canvas is that blank canvas, it's going to be a striped thing,
right?
Or like, how does that?
Yeah, it depends on what I'm doing. I mean, sometimes it's predetermined. Sometimes it's like, all right, I know I want it to be balanced. I want generally my stuff to have a nice balance when you're looking at a canvas, or even when I'm just drawing something out. I want it to be very, very balanced. And in saying that, I want it to be there to be symmetry. I don't want to look at something and things being off on a piece of canvas. And then another is color schemes, and that's big for me. I've heard it from a lot of people, like, hey Sam, I like the colors that you use. But yeah, I mean, again, some of it's predetermined, some of it's like, there's no getting away from. But then other things, it's like if I'm doing a beach scene, I want to keep it generally pretty close. I don't stray too crazy from what it would be if you were looking at it in the real life. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I love your captions on Instagram because they're funny and they give a lot of backstory with using very few words. You're very efficient with your word
Right.
use, and your grammar is really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Like your commas are
Are they
always,
on point?
yeah, always.
From a communications major, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and an English teacher. So,
There we go. Yeah, I appreciate that.
do you practice your grammar?
No, I don't. I roll the dice and hope the comma fits.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not overly abundant with my exclamation points. I want stuff to be simple. I like to kind of lay a roadmap for where I want somebody's mind and headspace to be when they look at something. But again, every artist should feel like this, but art is subjective. When you look at something that I do, I want you to take away from it whatever you take away from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my ridiculous comments or captions or something, that's generally just something that hopefully makes someone smile.
So some of your paintings have speech bubbles when people are actually saying something,
Right,
like the Mick
yeah.
Jagger thing and things like that.
Right.
But a lot of them, I've maybe about half of them are just two people. So like there was one that I was looking at today with a guy on a riding lawnmower with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Right.
And his wife was picking dandelions.
Right.
But it was just them on the canvas. But the caption described a scene and some backstory.
Right.
If that painting was going to be put in a gallery, would you add a caption? Are you going to have like some placard or something?
Yeah,
like-
I've done that before. So like I've shown work before where I've done some either there were drawings, illustrations, or there were paintings where I've done just that. Literally, when you look at the plaque that says dimensions, medium, sometimes price. Under that, I would add essentially what the caption is that you're seeing.
Okay.
That said, again, I'm gonna reiterate a lot of the work that I'm doing right now that I'm working on. I've kind of reverted back to what I did a lot of, and I'm installing that dialogue and those bubbles back onto the canvas. Sometimes it's like I want people to definitely be directed to exactly what I want them to know.
On the internet, you have some self-portraits where you have superimposed characters that you've drawn
Right.
around you, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Exactly. Which, by the way, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of my all-time favorite movies. Actually, right when it came out, it was the summer of, I guess I was 7 years. I think I was 6 or 7, and my birthday party was going to the AMC 8 and taking all my friends to see Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, I saw that movie in the theater too. That was a huge movie.
Huge
when it came
movie.
out.
Huge movie.
In large part because of the technological achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you interested in doing comic strips or multi-paneled?
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to. We've been going back and forth. One of my very good buddies, Andy Harris, who is an amazing artist. He and I are hoping to create something here soon. So it's kind of a lot of the tracks have been laid. We're kind of still in the very start of starting to get it actually pen to paper, I should say. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're working on something.
Collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Panel for panel, or like you do a page, I do a page.
He's doing a lot of the initial kind of storyboarding and he's writing the stories.
Okay.
And then I'm illustrating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever paint more traditional things like a field of wheat or a plate of fruit?
No. Don't.
Has anyone ever voiced their displeasure at something you did to your face? Like art-wise?
Well, not necessarily face. The way I depict people sometimes, people get the wrong idea, and for that, I totally get. I mean, nobody knows, in the internet world, nobody knows me, and I have to, I'm very thankful for Instagram. I literally just got my website up, but it's still not really up. It's active, but it's not where I want it to be. But for the past 2.5, 3 years, I guess I've done everything on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. I had a Facebook for a little bit, but that's gone by the wayside. So I'm Instagram only, and I have had multiple people. I wouldn't say a lot, but I've had a strong handful of people express their disgust with, I don't think that's too strong of a word, with either something that I've posted, or I tend to get messages, which is nice because they're private about it. But I wish they wouldn't be. I wish if somebody doesn't like something, like it's their right to express that. I welcome it.
What is the general thing? What do people say?
They think that maybe I'm a womanizer, maybe I'm disrespectful to the human form, and that maybe I'm poking fun at somebody that may be a little overweight. But that's not where my head is. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish. If anything, it's the exact opposite. I would never insult anyone by their physical appearance. You know what I mean? I would insult somebody by their actions for sure, or their personality, but I would never insult anybody by the way that they look, or something that they could or could not help. That's not me. But yeah, that's mostly what it's about. People, women especially, have reached out and been like, it's pretty disgusting what you do. I take offense to what you do, and to that I say, I'm sorry you feel that way, and there's that button that you can click so you don't see my stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Have
you found that sometimes you've gotten closure and there's been an understanding between?
I don't know. It's hard to say in the scope of the internet world, right? Because there's a lot of people that just blast stuff at you, and then you take the time to provide some
thoughtful, detailed response.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it just, everything kind of dies, which is fine.
Right.
I don't yearn for closure in a situation like that.
Right.
It's like everyone is entitled to their opinion. And again, I said at the beginning, whether you appreciate my art for the humor and
for me, I can see how people could glance at your Instagram in passing and feel like you are making fun of people and putting women in a negative light. Yeah. But I feel like if you read the captions, and if you, not that to go back to the grammar, but like there's a real intelligence to your work.
Thanks.
That it's not just some like frat boy like exposing women.
No. I'm anti that.
People, if you took the time to really like read the captions and look at the whole body of work, I mean, because just the language that you use, like there's an intelligence to the dialogue. There's an intelligence to it.
Thanks.
Appreciate
that, Andrew.
Makes that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I go for. That's what I hope people take away. Again, people are going to take what they want from it, and again, I welcome that. And when you create stuff and share it with people, then you're kind of, again, making yourself a target if you're doing things that can be interpreted very easily in the opposite way of how you want them to be.
Right.
But it is what it is. It's art. So you're opening the door to the positives and negatives.
Is there a trick or a secret to getting your work shown publicly?
You got to push. You just got to push. Unless you're a professional artist, and that I mean, unless you wake up every day, that is your main focus and your only focus. It's hard to get there. In a world where the internet is kind of oversaturated every single thing, whether you're a band, whether you're an artist, whether you're a craftsman, whether, it doesn't matter what you're doing, a chef, there is a million other ones like you.
Yeah.
So it's all about bringing something different, being unique, holding true to your style, and then just being a nice person. And I think busting your ass to meet people and network. And that's kind of where my head is now. I want to take my art to other places, and people reach out to me all the time, which I'm grateful for. I'm very kind of hard on myself with stuff, and I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm ready to exhibit a lot of new work, and I've got a big show lined up for late spring, which I want it to hopefully be an installation that I take other places. Hopefully.
That would travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have many tattoos, and I was wondering, is it easy to commit to getting tattooed because you love art, and tattoos are, of course, art? Or is it particularly worrisome to select a tattoo and a tattoo artist when you are an artist, because you know how delicate that whole thing is?
Right. Yeah. I only get tattooed by artists that I truly love and appreciate and respect. So I'm at that age where I'm definitely a collector. I'm doing my arms. I'm doing my legs. I've thought about back. That's a big commitment. So no, I don't think it's hard for me to. I mean, all my tattoos are very unique. They're all stuff that I come up with, and I give a lot of the artists the full creative freedom to depict what I want. But yeah, I mean, I've got some ridiculous ones, but I still love them. Everyone's like, "Do you ever regret any?" I don't regret anything that I've ever gotten tattooed. I started getting tattooed at 17. I'm 33 now. I'll probably be getting tattooed for the rest of my life. I love them. I love them.
Sam Clayman, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's a pleasure. I love what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. I respect you a lot. I'm so stoked for this area to have access to you talking to folks in this area. So it's cool, man. Thank you.
I love your work.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, Sam. This is Andrew Paul Cronin, and you've been listening to the Q&A with A.P.C. To hear archived episodes, go to soundcloud.com/QAAPC or subscribe to the show on iTunes. For exclusive content, including upcoming shows, behind-the-scenes pictures, and more, follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at QAAPC. The executive producer of the Q&A with A.P.C. is Ben Riley. The music was arranged by Soup.